Hey everybody, welcome back to the first official video of 2021. Now I'm calling this the first official video because the last video I posted on mounting the beacon on the bottom of the airplane, I don't remember if that was done in December or January. So let's just call this the first official video of 2021. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Mark Pensenstadler and I am building a Zenith Super Duty. Behind me over here, you can see my Zenith Cruzer that I finished in mid-2020. So next month will be February, and that is the 3-year mark that I've been making videos on YouTube. And I realized, kind of from some of the questions that I get from people, that I never really introduced myself to anybody on the channel. So before we get started in the update on the Super Duty, I thought I'd just give you a little background on myself and share a little bit of my experiences in aviation and work and stuff like that. So let's get started. So I'm going to start back in 1992 when I first went into the Air Force. Of course, I wanted to work on fighter jets, but I got selected to work on Minuteman missiles out in the silos of Great Falls, Montana. So I was stationed at Malmstrom Air Force Base. I stayed there for 4 years working on these missiles. This is what a Minuteman III looks like. Now, when they're in the silo, they're not painted nicely like this. They look more like this picture where they're multicolored and not painted at all. That was a great job, actually. I really enjoyed doing it. We worked on a 5-man team and I had the same team for all 4 years. So it was really a great experience. In 1994, I got selected to be on a team that was sent to Vandenberg Air Force Base. And what we did was we took one of our missiles from Montana, we took it out of the hull, we shipped it down to California, rebuilt it, and then we launched it. It's called a foot shot, and I think that stands for Field Operational Test Shot, as in launch. That was a great experience. In fact, that was a 30-day TDY down to California, so I really enjoyed that. So here's a picture of me working on the missile in the silo. And then I've got some other pictures here. When we put the missiles in the silo, they sit on a suspension system. And this is just a picture of me adjusting that suspension system. And in this picture here, I always thought was funny. Believe it or not, I was actually very comfortable sitting here on the job. And if you look closely, all I am doing is holding a button down on this box in my left hand. And what I'm doing is, the way these missiles are transported out to the silos is in this big truck called a TE. It's a transporter erector. And it's a big trailer truck that the missile is in. It backs up over the launch tube. We open up the big closure and the trailer goes up to vertical. We lower down the missile. And then once it's down, there's obviously a big hoist in the trailer that has to come up. And I don't remember how long it takes to bring that hoist up, but it was a long time. It's something like a half an hour or an hour or something like that. So for some reason, I guess I wasn't doing anything. I was just sitting here holding this button down, raising up that hoist. So I did that for 4 years and I still wanted to be a pilot. So after my enlistment, I got out of the Air Force and I drove from Great Falls, Montana over to Grand Forks, North Dakota. I enrolled in the University of North Dakota to finish up my bachelor degree and all my flight training. And at UND, we flew, what did we have? We had Warriors, Cadets, I think, and Seminoles. The picture here is the old airplanes. Shortly after I got there, UND replaced their entire fleet with new airplanes. So it's kind of nice to fly around brand new Pipers with new GPSs and everything. But anyway, I graduated in '98, instructed there for a couple years. In the beginning of 2000, I got hired at Mesaba Airlines, flying the Saab 340. I think I have about 8,000 hours in this plane as a first officer and a captain. And then our airline started to get CRJ 900s, so I went over to be a captain on the 900. Flew that for about 5,000 hours, and then I got hired at a major airline where I'm currently a captain on the Airbus well, I say 320, it's a 320 series, but our airline flies the 319s, the 320s, and the 321s. So I fly all 3 of those, sometimes all on the same day. And I forgot to mention that when I went to the University of North Dakota in 1996, I joined the North Dakota Air National Guard and I was a happy hooligan. That was the name of our units. So my job was an egress technician, so I worked on the ejection systems on the F-16. That included anything in the cockpit that had to deal with ejection. So that includes the seat, some of the systems in the cockpit, and then also the canopies we were responsible for. That was a pretty cool job. The neat thing about that job was there's not a lot to do in the egress shop. The system doesn't get used, so it really doesn't break and need a lot of maintenance. So I spent most of my time going around to the other shops and hanging out and learning about what they do. Like I'd go over to the hydraulic shop and watch them do gear swings and help out if I could. I went over to the phase docks and watched them do the heavy maintenance. Sheet metal shop. In fact, later on, when I moved to Michigan, I transferred from the North Dakota Guard to the Michigan Guard. And Arnie in the sheet metal shop is the one that actually taught me how to do riveting and work with sheet metal and stuff like that. So I got a lot of good experience. I would go to the Guard on the weekend, and if there was nothing to do in the egress shop, I would go over to the sheet metal shop and cut metal, bend metal, work on metal, rivet, do all that kind of stuff just for my own education. So that was pretty cool. The F-16 was a fun airplane to work on. Once I was in the Michigan Guard, I think about the last 4 or 5 years of my career, we phased out the F-16 and went to the A-10. So I did the same job on the A-10 until I retired with 20 years in service, and that would have been in 2012. So one other fun thing I wanted to mention real quick is when I was in the Air Force at Malmstrom, on the other side of town was the Montana Air National Guard, which flew F-16s. So I met the guy that ran the sim up there, and so a lot of my days off from work, I would go up to the Guard and fly the F-16 sim around. I have about 50 hours in the sim, and I remember a lot of times doing an air-to-air refueling and then shooting down the tanker. Sorry guys, but I just pretended like it was a Soviet tanker. But before I retired in 2012 from the Michigan Guard, I was lucky enough to finally get my ride in the F-16. That was a little over an hour long. And it was pretty cool. We went Mach 1.2, we pulled 8.5 Gs. And what's interesting is we could only go to 8.5. We couldn't go to 9 because of the 2 external fuel tanks. It's, I guess, a limit on the airplane. With those 2 tanks, you can't go more than 8.5 Gs. So we did 8.5 Gs, didn't bother me one bit. So that was pretty fun. So anyway, okay, that's my whole working career. Now for the airplanes, just real quickly here, in 2004 or 3, I think it was, I finished my first airplane, which is a RANS S10. And then in 2011, I finished my second airplane, which was a RANS S6. I built most of the airframe for an RV7, and for various reasons, I got rid of that airplane. I just didn't find that airplane fun to build at all. So I bought a Cherokee 160 and flew that for a couple years, sold that, and then I wanted to build again, so that's when I built my Zenith Cruzer. And that airplane, when I finished it, I had so much fun building it that I wanted to build another Zenith, which was good because I also really want to get into STOL flying. Not really competing, but just I'd like to go out west every once in a while and maybe, you know, do some backcountry flying and fishing and camping and stuff like that. So that's where the Super Duty will be perfect. So that's what we're working on now. So the rest of these videos will be on building the Super Duty, and I still post flying videos with the Cruzer, although I don't fly that as much as I wish I would because most of the time I'm busy in the hangar building. So anyway, I hope that wasn't too long and boring for you. Let's get started on the update for the Super Duty. All right, so I am getting ready to rivet together the aft fuselage. And before I do that, there's some wires that I want to run through the fuselage. So I've made 3 of these little tabs, and as you can see here, I'm just drilling and riveting them to the L angles. And you'll see in just a minute, there's I drilled 2 holes in the tabs because there's an elevator trim wire and another wire for the light on the tail that will run through these. They were pretty easy to make. I have these plastic snap bushings that go inside. I like the snap bushings better than rubber grommets because the snap bushings are plastic and they're not rubber, so they'll never dry rot and break and crack and wear out. All right, I have the bottom wing skin on the workbench ready to go. I figured just before we put the sides on, let me just show you the wire I have run through here. The gray wire is for the elevator trim and the white wire is for the sun tail, which is the light that goes on the back of the rudder. The gray wire does come with the Zenith kit. All of this wire here you can get from Aero LEDs. And I just made these little standoffs here that I riveted to the L angle. and use snap bushings that go in there. I have like 3 of them here, and it goes up through the bulkhead and then through this one and then out the back here. I'll cut these to the length later, but I can, snip them wherever I need them, put the connectors on, and then I can connect them up. So I have the Clecos laid out here, ready to go. I figure Brian and Gordon can lower the skin onto the side, and I can go down and just put a few Clecos in. And then we have this front sort of a frame here that will Cleco in and kind of hold all the sides nice and stiff and hold them together. So this is the bottom piece ready to go. As soon as Brian and Gordon get here, we'll get the sides put on. Well, it's been about a week or two since we've put this together, so now it's time to rivet. I've got the air compressor going, getting that ready, and I'm just going down the line here and inserting these A4 rivets. With that done, it looks like I can go back to the manual here and check off the last couple steps on this page. This piece here is the rear attach bracket for the horizontal stabilizer. And I'm using this Scotch-Brite wheel to clean up the edges all around this piece, because you can see here what they look like from the factory when they're cut out. It's kind of a rough, jagged edge, and I want the edges to be nice and smooth and polished. You can see here the difference. Once it's complete, you can see how nice and smooth the edges are. And if you're doing this on your project and you don't have one of these Scotch-Brite wheels, it can all be done with sandpaper also. It's a little more elbow grease, but sandpaper will do the exact same job. I do want to prime the aluminum under these pieces, but I'm attaching it right now just to make sure everything fits. This will come off again, but I kind of want to assemble things, make sure everything fits, the holes line up. And then once I test all the parts, then I'll take this back off, kind of prime the back of that piece, prime the skin under it, and then I can rivet it together when the manual calls for it. Everything fits nicely and it's looking good. Now, in order to be able to put this bulkhead into the aft fuselage, I need to finish up the doors on here. So what I did was I ordered a piece of 2 foot by 2 foot aluminum from Aircraft Spruce, and it's .032 is what I got. And I just kind of guessed on the thickness. I figured that would be about thick enough for a door. And I think it works pretty much perfectly. So I cut this door out and I put the hinge on it. So it just goes on there like that. And if I put the pin in here, you can see how this opens just like that. And what I will do over here is I will put one of those 1/4 turn thumb screws that I have, the same thing I have on my oil access door for the Cruzer. I'll put one on here, and then, it'll just have one thumb screw here to close it. I can turn that with a 1/4 turn, open it up and get into the baggage compartment. So I just need to make this door, and then I have to look again at the manual, but I think I can put this bulkhead into the fuselage. All right, so let me give you a little update of where I'm at right now. You can see the bottom of the fuselage is riveted. I haven't riveted the top yet, just because I'll wait a little bit, just in case, who knows, maybe I need to get back in there for something. The back end is probably ready to rivet, but I haven't riveted this yet either, just because I'll wait until the very last minute to rivet. Again, these plates here will come off again, so I can put a little bit of primer under them. And then on the inside of the fuselage, I do have that bulkhead installed. It's not riveted, it's just clecoed in place. The 2 baggage doors are complete, but I won't actually rivet in the boxes until the interior is painted. And then the next steps, actually the next step in the manual is to start working on the steel bars and stuff that go in there, but they're at the powder coater right now, so I don't have those. Other than that, there's just a whole bunch of little parts that go into the back of the fuselage. So these go on actually the very back of the fuselage. These go inside. You can just see all these various parts. This is the seatbelt attach point for the passenger seat, the 3rd jump seat. And these are the seatbelt attachments for the front seat, but I won't be using these because I went with the 3-point harness, or the 4-point harnesses there, which I'll show you in just a sec. And I'll show you those because in case you're debating on whether to buy the shoulder harness or not, I actually really like them. And when I was at the Zenith fly-in, I went and when nobody was looking, I went and sat in the Super Duty and buckled myself into the pilot seat because they have these harnesses in there. So I'm not sure what these are, but the seat belts are, oh, there's more parts in here too. The seat belts are really nice. They're just, they look like they're really nice, high quality seat belts. And like I said, when I sat in the airplane at the factory, they were actually really comfortable too. And you know, they probably hold you in the airplane a little bit more securely than the 3-point harnesses. And then these pieces here, these are the channel pieces that get put up on top of the top of the cabin like that. But these ones I don't use. When you order the 4-point harness, you get these ones. And it looks like really the only difference is you notice there's no holes here. These ones have holes here too. So it just comes with some pre-drilled holes. So actually these ones, these 2 right here, I don't really need. I'll just put those aside. But I think what I'm going to do is end the video here because I just need to take some time, and all of the edges for all of these parts, like you can see this one here. See how it has a sharp 90-degree corner right here? You know, I need to round that. All these edges need to be cleaned up on all of these parts. So I'll just take some time while the steel parts are getting powder coated. I'll take some time and get all of these parts prepped and ready and primed. And then once I get my steel pieces, I can put those in the fuselage, rivet in whatever I need here. Probably get the rest of this riveted, like the top, the sides here, and the whole back end. And then I think after that, I can join over here. See, that's the forward part of the fuselage. I'll be able to put that on here and then get it on the gear. All right, everybody, thanks for watching the video. I hope everyone's gonna have a great year. I hope you are building a project. I'm expecting a lot of progress on my Super Duty, so it's kind of interesting to see where it's at today at the beginning of January, as opposed to, you know, this December, 12 months later, we'll see where it's at. So I'd like to ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Please give the videos a thumbs up because it does help my channel. It helps YouTube promote the videos. Leave a comment down below if you have a question. I hope you guys didn't mind the beginning of the video where I took a little bit of time just to introduce myself because, like I said, I've never done that before and the channel is growing and I figure people might want to know who the heck I am. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next video, which hopefully all those little pieces will be done and installed in the airplane.